Hello, this is Jane Goodall. I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you. I only wish I could be with you in person. It's a strange world that we've been living in, this virtual world, since the pandemic began. And it's also a pretty grim world now, politically, socially, and environmentally. And a lot of people, especially young people, are beginning to lose hope. Indeed, if you think about what's going on around the world, including COVID, climate change, loss of biodiversity, and now the horrifying war in Ukraine, it's impossible not to be depressed. We destroy forests and other ecosystems, pollute land, air, and water, poison the soil with toxic pesticides and herbicides, along with industrial, agricultural, and household waste. The natural resources of our planet are finite, and in some places we're using them up faster than Mother Nature can replenish them. At the same time, human populations are growing along with our livestock. Too many strive for short-term gain and unlimited economic growth at the expense of protecting the environment for future generations. Sometimes this is due to a desire to make ever more money, gain ever more power in an increasingly materialistic society. Sometimes it's due to poverty, where the poor will destroy the environment to make space to grow more food or make money simply in order to survive. And sometimes it's due to ignorance, a lack of understanding about what's happening to our planet. Even back in the late 1980s, I met many young people all around the world who were losing hope, feeling helpless, depressed, or angry. I asked them why they felt that way. Well, you've compromised our future, and there's nothing we can do about it, they said. Indeed, if you feel like this, you are at least partially right. Your future has been compromised. But I don't agree there's nothing that can be done about it. I believe we've got a window of time during which, if we get together, we can at least slow down the heating of the planet and the loss of biodiversity. But only if we get together and take action now. In 1991, I, along with 12 Tanzanian high school students, began Roots and Shoots, the Jane Goodall Institute's humanitarian and environmental program for young people. Its main message was and is that every single one of us makes an impact on the planet every single day. And because everything is interrelated, we decided that each group would themselves choose 3 projects, one to help people, one to help animals, and one to help the environment. Today, Roots and Shoots has members of all ages and is active in more than 65 countries. Very soon after its inception, Roots and Shoots groups were formed in universities. More and more university students from many different countries joined the movement, most recently from India and Turkey. Over the years, university students have played a major role in developing this program. Many of them visit schools and talk to the children, inspiring them to join Roots and Shoots and choose projects to make the world a better place, giving them greater understanding of what they can do. University students from different countries form groups to work on global problems, such as reducing the use of plastic, recycling, raising money to help refugees, raising awareness about the danger to the environment of animal trafficking, industrial farming, and so on. In some cases, university students have been instrumental in raising environmental standards within the university, such as installing solar panels, strict recycling, including cell phones, creating organic gardens, planting trees, indigenous trees, of course, and so on. We have a saying, think globally, act locally. But this is the wrong way around, because thinking globally causes depression. Instead, we should start by thinking locally. What do you care about locally? Homelessness, pollution of a river, plans to cut down some ancient trees for yet another supermarket or parking lot? Whatever it is, think about what you could do about it. Gather some friends to help. You might raise money for the homeless, write to the city council or the company polluting your river with waste. You could volunteer at an animal shelter or some other cause. Whatever it is, do something about it. And then you will see that this does make a difference. And that makes you feel good. And so you want to do more, so you feel better. And you inspire others to help. And then you realize that other people are also making a difference around the world. Only then do you dare hope that things can get better globally. Hope is important, and hope is about action. I see us at the mouth of a very long and very dark tunnel. At the far end, a star is shining. That's hope. But it's no good sitting at the mouth of the tunnel and hoping the star will move to us. No, we must roll up our sleeves and crawl under, climb over, work our way around all the obstacles that lie throughout the tunnel. Obstacles like climate change, loss of biodiversity, poverty, and all the rest. And as we go along this tunnel, we must reach out and take others with us so that we reach the end together. The good news is that there's greater awareness about all the obstacles. More people realize we need a new relationship with nature and a new, more sustainable economy. More people realize that we're part of and depend on the natural world for food, water, clean air, shelter, everything. But we depend on healthy ecosystems. An ecosystem is made up of a complex diversity of interrelated plants and animals, each one with a role to play. And every time a species goes extinct, it's like pulling a thread from a glorious living tapestry. If we pull too many threads, the tapestry will hang in tatters, and the ecosystem will collapse. It's our disregard and our disrespect for the natural world that's led to climate change and the loss of biodiversity, both existential threats to life on Earth as we know it. And it's also led to the COVID pandemic, for by our treatment of animals, we've created situations that make it relatively easy for a pathogen, such as a virus, to jump over from one species to another. And if it bonds with a cell in that other's body, a new zoonotic disease, such as COVID-19, may emerge. When wild animals are trafficked around the world to sell in wildlife markets as food, medicine, or exotic pets, or when domestic animals are crowded into so-called factory farms, this creates situations ideal for the emergence of new diseases. In fact, I'm told that some 75% of all new human diseases that have emerged in the last few decades have been zoonotic in origin. And as an aside here, let's not forget that as science has now proved, each of these animals is a sentient being capable of feeling fear, distress, and pain. The scale of suffering, if you think about it, is unimaginable. Moreover, the new research on animal intelligence, from apes, elephants, and whales to rodents, birds, and even octopuses, is extraordinary. The good news is that more people are aware today of the environmental crisis. Climate change is something that's affecting all nations, and though the poor suffer the most, everyone is affected by changing weather patterns, such as increasingly severe storms, flooding, droughts, heat waves, and the terrifying wildfires. People often ask me if I really do have hope for the future. Well, I believe there is a window of time when, if we get together, we can start to heal some of the harm we've inflicted and slow down climate change. But we must act now, for that window is closing. We must protect our forests, plant trees, address the terrible pollution of the ocean, the air and the land, alleviate poverty, address the unsustainable lifestyles of so many of us, think about human population and livestock growth, and stamp out corruption. Still, I've got four main reasons for hope. First is the commitment, energy, and passion of young people like you when you understand the problems and are empowered to take action. Indeed, young people everywhere are changing the world, changing attitudes of parents and grandparents, some of whom may be CEOs or politicians, people who can create major change. Roots and Shoots began some 30 years ago. So many members are now adult, and they've taken their values, respect for each other, animals and the environment, into their workplaces and their homes. And there are many other youth environmental groups all working to make this a better world. Then there's the remarkable human brain. An increasing number of scientists are designing innovative technologies that are already helping us to live in greater harmony with the natural world, such as solar, wind and tide power, ways of controlling insect pests without the use of poisonous pesticides, vegetable alternatives to meat, eggs and milk that taste like the pigs and cows and poultry, and thus eventually bring factory farming to an end. Many realize the importance of protecting and restoring forests and planting trees. Others are working to address the terrible pollution of the ocean, the air and the land, of phasing out intensive farming with its reliance on chemical pesticides and herbicides that are killing the soil. More people are realizing the importance of small-scale family farming or turning to regenerative farming, permaculture, and so on. Moreover, more people are beginning to realize that individual action does make a difference, and that millions of small ethical choices in what we buy, wear, and eat can cumulatively lead to major change. Then there's the fact that nature is amazingly resilient. Places that humans have destroyed can and have been restored. When I arrived in Gombe to study chimpanzees in 1960, the national park was part of the equatorial forest belt that stretched all the way to the west coast. By the late 80s, it was just a tiny island of forest surrounded by bare hills. And thanks to population growth, the farmland was overused and infertile. People were struggling to survive. And that's when it hit me that unless we could help the people find ways of making a living without destroying the environment, we couldn't save chimps, forests, or anything else. And that's when we began the Jane Goodall Institute's holistic community-led conservation program, Take Care, or Tukari. As we worked with the people, they came to realize that protecting the environment wasn't just for wildlife, but for their own future. They became our partners in conservation, and there are no more bare hills around Gombe. Nature has been restored. And all around the world, many animals and plants on the brink of extinction are being given another chance because of rewilding programs, captive breeding, and education. The black robin in New Zealand was reduced to only one fertile male and one fertile female. But Don Merton wouldn't give up his efforts to save them, and there are some 250 individuals today. Everywhere are examples of this indomitable spirit, people who tackle what seems impossible and refuse to give up, and often succeed. Rachel Carson, whose famous book Silent Spring gave rise to the environmental movement, fought alone against huge commercial and political interests until she got the pesticide DDT banned. Nelson Mandela, after 17 years of hard physical labor in South Africa's Robben Island prison, came out with the amazing ability to forgive and along with de Klerk, brought the terrible apartheid regime to an end. Every day the media is filled with stories of doom and gloom, and of course we need this information. But at the same time, there are hundreds of positive stories. I just wish the media gave more space to these, but they're what give people hope. Wouldn't it be great if university students collected and shared all these hopeful stories widely? This will help to make this a better world, encouraging everyone to do their part. Thank you so much.